All right, welcome back. Welcome back. Submission. Is it time to abolish this word? It looks like this word is triggering a lot of people. Ladies, talk to me. Talk to me. Is it time to abolish the word submission when it comes to romantic relationships? Literally, somebody suggested this new. That's what I'm asking on. They suggested it. I said I must bring this to the Prestige family. I want to know what their thoughts are about it. Ladies, is it time to abolish the word submission? What are we dealing with here? When I heard this, I was like, abolish ke bao.
He shock you.
Who shocked me? Is it time to abolish this word? Should we abolish submission altogether since it's triggering the modern woman really badly? They have conversation around this, and is it time to abolish the word submission?
Halfway.
Wait. Deal us up, we're over it. Over it. Submission, of course, submission knee. Submission, just like respect, shows a gap when it is demanded for. Yeah. These are the issues. So we should. So when she said, I can't lie. When she said we need to abolish that word, I'm like, what she particularly? Is it that bad? Is it that bad? Let's see what submission says in dictionary. Everybody wants to go to dictionary to have conversations about the word submission. Listen, the issues with these things are extremes. They're usually extreme issues, and that's why the dating scene, marriages, that's why they're struggling. Everybody wants to take something to the extreme, and here's a sign of an extreme. When people say, "But the dictionary says this," that's an extreme, right? And that person will probably struggle in relationships until they come back to reality, But let me see here. Dictionary, first definition from dictionary says the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will. In fact, let me show you properly so that we can be on the same page here. This is the first definition here. There you go. Right here. This is submission, the action or fact of accepting or yielding to a superior face or force or to the will or authority of another person. Okay? So we cannot do this already in real life unless you are, even Dangote has to do that. Did you know that? Even Alhaji Dangote has to do this. He's submitted. He has to submit. Paperwork, himself, delivery, project delivery, right? He has to do that. So that's the first definition from dictionary meaning. So dictionary is not even doing too badly itself, right? I'm just going to go through the two. There are probably other definitions too. Of course, some people, they would like to go to the extremely toxic definition, right? They might say things like slavery. They want to bring slavery into that conversation, right? The second definition says the action of presenting a proposal, application, or other document for consideration or judgment. Okay, so clearly we're not talking about that one, right? Let me see if there are other ones here. And I struggle. I see one here that says servile flattery and submission. Okay. An act of surrendering to a hold by one's opponent. Okay, that's submission. Another one says, okay, a proposition or argument presented by a lawyer or a judge or jury. Well, even for example, right now I'm about to make a submission in this video right now, right? So, but there are people that tend to pull out, they go in the direction of pulling out the extremely toxic version of this thing, right? So now they're saying it needs to be abolished, right? It needs to be abolished, right? And to be honest, there have been words that have been abolished, or people say you can't use. Like, for example, me, when people say they want to control their wife, I was like, well, that's not going to work anyway. In addition, why are you using that word? Are you in 1953? Control your wife. Anyway, but you know, there are people out there like that. They think their power is pushing against political correctness, like politics is their mate. But anyway, another conversation. Submission, just like respect. Okay, we talked about that already. That's a good point, actually. I agree 100% with that. If it has to be demanded for, maybe these are part of the issues, right? Life will not say I hate stress. I'm married at 34, but never dated two men at the same time because I don't like explaining a bit. Wala. Submission is an action and should not be demanded. That's what we're talking about. He said, I had an extreme friend who would invite her boyfriend for dinner and make him wash dishes because she cooked. She was always balancing accounts for everything. Yeah. You see, now that person, if we have to educate that person on submission now, are you sure we should be abolishing the word? Right? Are you sure? Some people need the lesson on submission in a balanced way that actually makes sense, the actual meaning of submission within a marriage that's built on romance, right? So it's a struggle. You know, there are a couple of points here that I made about this, about 12 points that I want to leave you with. But before I leave you with that, let me show you this example really quickly. This is an example of people that are teaching people wrongly about submission. Okay, here's an example right here. Let me see. Boom, there you go. Let's make it bigger. Okay, I'm gonna play this video for you, then we'll take it from there.
Reassign.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 67.
Let me refresh that.
I'm calling because I need to get my dentist reassigned.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 6768. I'm sorry, hold on.
Oh my God.
Babe, she asked for the user ID.
Ma'am?
I know you always say that, but every time I talk to them, they tell me to give them the user ID, which they told me the same as the social.
Hello?
I'm sorry, can you hold on one second? Is it that big a deal?
Go for it. You don't listen.
I am listening. I'm listening to what she said.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 6678. If she asked for the user ID. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry. I actually meant it's SLM6FF. Thank you.
Okay, I found you.
That worked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right, so this was a terrible example. Okay, this was a terrible example of what it looks like in real life in relationships. Okay, the first part of that video, she did show an attitude. Okay, let me see. Let me go back to it because I think it's very important that, like you said, more elaborated, right? Let's talk about what this looked like in real life. A lot of people, they just, everything is a textbook to them. And this example, you might as well just read a bunch of nonsense in the book, right? All right. Let me play it again, and then we'll take it from there.
I'm calling because I need to get my dentist reassigned.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 6768.
It said, that's my social, right? And she's making a call. I don't know what he's doing behind the scenes over there, but he said, no, that's my social. Okay. That's typical conversation between a husband and a wife. That's not far-fetched. Okay.
I'm sorry, hold on.
Oh
He said, you got to give her the other number. Fine.
my God.
Babe, she asked for the user ID.
Ma'am?
It said, but she asked for the user ID.
I know you always say that, but
Okay, so at this point, she has an attitude in her face. And said, yeah, but you always say that, right? And he's trying to make a point, right? Yeah, it's fine. You can be, I can see some frustration in his eyes, but he's also trying to walk on eggshell a little bit, but he's trying to say something. Gentlemen, if you're walking on eggshell around your wife, you have to hold yourself accountable and responsible for that. Yes, even if she made you do it. Okay, yes, that's why you are the man. Okay, it's not you are. I didn't say you are at fault. I'm saying you owe it to yourself to maintain your cool. Okay, you owe it to yourself to remain centered because your family is counting on you to do that. If that's too much, I don't know what you want me to tell you. Okay, but anyway, let's keep going.
Every time I talk to them, they tell me to give them the user ID, which they've told me is the same as the social.
Hello?
I'm sorry.
So she made a point. So every time they said it's a social that, they said, okay, all right. So that is the same thing, right? So yeah, you could call the place of work, for example, healthcare systems. Usually they might be able to pull your information with your social security number or a user ID, either way, right? A lot of systems, they will pull your information with both in the same field. That's why she's probably pulling that number. She's not exactly doing anything wrong. She's doing the way she felt she could do it at that time. Unless we're talking about security in terms of giving your social security number. But she has an attitude. She also thinks she knows what she's doing at that point in time, right? When I see attitude like this, what it tells me is that there are behind the scenes, there are backstories to what we're looking at. Making an example out of this without giving us a little bit more context is stupid, because that's not real life. Okay?
Can you hold on 1 second?
Particularly calling it combative, that part, labeling it combative is stupid. Okay? No one is going to learn anything from this. People that lack experience may think they're learning something until they find themselves in a space where they naturally have attitude. Could I be that guy behind the scenes right there? Yes, I've been that guy too. Sometimes it still happens. You're frustrated sometimes. You're a human being. The problem is when you're not aware and you continue to teach something stupid like this. Okay? So why is this combative? If you say, hey, you want to watch out for this right here, you rather do it the other way because communication. Because I like word of affirmation is my love language too, number one. So I appreciate when somebody talk nice to me, right? But to assume that 100% of the time is always going to look like that, and then we should label the other ones combative, this is how you miss out on the actual ingredients or the actual things that people are supposed to learn in relationships, the actual nuances, right, that actually shows up in real life and not robotic stuff like this.
All right, go ahead.
Is it that big a deal?
Go for it.
He said go for it, but he didn't mean it.
I'm listening to what she said. I'm sorry.
And what's your user number, ma'am?
It's 6.
So he said you don't listen. He said go for it, but you don't listen. So he didn't say what he meant. He's caught up in his emotions. It happens to the best of us. It's okay. The issue I have here is the person teaching this lesson who is creating this skit and calling one combative and calling it submissive. This person is lame. It's neither one or the other. One will create a better outcome, yes. The other one, you should avoid it as much as you can. Okay? So these are the issues with the word submissive or submission. When people use it wrongly, then we have a lot of young lady coming out and say, let's abolish the word. I don't think we need to abolish the word. We need to abolish people that don't need to be teaching on the internet. Stop teaching. Okay? Because both sides, like for example, now she decided to use what he said, right? But it could have been wrong too. And then also the attitude was not addressed. And also the fact that when you listen to your husband, but actually you didn't listen, it was just you buried it under the rug for today, but there's resentment. That was never addressed too. The nuances were not addressed.
6, 7, 8. If she asked for the user ID.
So she said, babe, she asked for the user ID. Okay, the presence of babe in the sentence makes it submissive. No, that's lame. That's dumb. If my wife says babe and she calls me babe, that's fine. I like it. It's sweet. It's nice. It's cute. That's not the same thing as submissive. That's to call that submissive is stupid at best. I'm sorry I'm using that word a lot, but maybe I'm a little frustrated too.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Oh, so she's my I'm sorry. Is that how it works in real life? If you have been actually frustrated before, if there was a backstory, could you switch that like that? Is that realistic?
Sorry, I actually meant it's SLM.
So she listened.
FF.
And then there's a lame 22-year-old said like, you're right. That's how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not real. Go real. It is not real. Right? It's not real. If we're going to have these conversations, we need to have it at a real life level. Okay? Submission is more of a grand situation overall. Or we can look at overall that marriage, that wife is submissive to the wife, but what that looks like in reality is that she trusts his mission. She trusts that she can count on him. She trusts that he's consistent. Even when he's at the weakest mode, even when he's a little frustrated and say you don't listen, she still overall trusts her husband. She would defend him like that if somebody says some type of nonsense about him, right? That's what submission looks like. It's not a moment by moment, a moment of you don't listen. No, it's not. It's not real. Now, if you do enough of you don't listen, you will create a non-submissive wife, gentlemen, with your own hands. Yes. And yes, ladies, if you don't understand that a lot of your husbands, their word of affirmation is their love language, if you've never done the study to that point, you might end up creating a dent in him where he will start becoming feminine, and then you will start to say he's not responsible. He doesn't know how to make you feel good, right? I just haven't felt good for so long. Anybody remember Jada right now? Right? So it's more to it. It's more to it. And in order to be able to discuss submission, we need real life examples. Like, for example, that was a skit, but it's a good example. There's nothing that whatever we just saw that they compared has nothing to do with submission whatsoever. Unless it's a repetitive thing and she tends to have attitude and she never listened. She's clearly not submissive. But again, submission is not something you decide. Right? It's when you see value in submitting to an order. If you see value in submitting to a structure, an authority, you will submit naturally. It's not stuff that you just let me sit around since it's duty and responsibility. It used to be that way until there's perception of options, right? Illusion of options, meaning people need a little bit more substance than duty and responsibility to be able to submit, because if you're not showing up consistently, eventually they will lose respect. Okay? Now, is it helpful for a woman to be aware that she should be submissive? Yes, I think it's helpful to understand that marriage is built on that type of structure. But I think it's even much more helpful when there's something to submit to, when there's a mission to submit to. When she couldn't help it, she just finds herself submitting. It's just what it is. It's just the reality, right? She's actually being called pick-me's right now by people that don't understand how that works. And she's like, what? What's a pick-me? I don't know what that is. I'm pick-me because I love my husband. She's saying things like that, right? That's what it looks like in reality. You don't ask for it. It just happens when you're moving the way you're supposed to move as a man, okay? Now, in terms of submission itself, number one, every human being has to do it. Not just women. Every human being, including Alhaji Dangote, has to submit. So we can't really abolish it. In reality, the way it shows up, everybody, you have a boss, everybody has a boss, you have an authority, everybody that has to submit or deliver some kind of goods, services, value to other people is essentially submitting. That's what that is. So I don't know about the abolishing it part. I understand people abuse it. I get it. I get the frustration. But I'm not sure if that's enough to abolish the word, you know. Number two, it's earned 100% of the time. You have to earn it. If you want submission from other people, you have to earn it. If you're asking for it, clearly you haven't earned it, and you're feeling even further by asking for it. It gets worse. It just gets worse. Okay. A product of a man's submission to his higher self and leading by example. If you're a man and you're submitted to your higher self and you're leading by example, women don't have a choice than to submit to you. They just want to submit. They want to. All right. You don't need to ask for it. Okay. Then number four, it's useless when there is active division in ideology and especially at emotional levels. If both of you and I agree and you are forced you to submit, it will fall on its face. It's not sustainable. Period. Okay. So this submission is a symptom. There are other underlying things going on that needs to be addressed if this is a point of contention in a relationship. Okay. Number five, it's not designed for women to explicitly decide for or against. When she feels safe and secure, it's a natural order. Number six, if you have to ask for submission, you will repel it further away. It simply means you haven't earned it. Okay? You have not earned it. That's why you're asking for it. So you're trying to force it. Will it work? Number seven, if a man is so sure of his competence, he needs to have self-respect and leave when he encounters whatever he considers a non-submissive woman, if he's so sure. Okay, being loud about it on the internet is giving. It's giving. Okay. Number 8, ladies, have a conversation with your father or your father figure about submission. If this conversation matters this much, if you're engaged with conversation about submission, if you feel like you just have a conversation with your father figure about it, I don't think you can afford to count on the men in the market to lead, because these days more and more men are asking women to help make them feel like men. Actually, on that conversation on Clubhouse, the guy actually said, these days women don't know how to make us feel like men. I'm like, are you? Yeah, this is, I was on Clubhouse and I was like, where's my effect button?
Hey, I get me to me, but me.
Yeah, it's not women's responsibility to make you feel like men. No, sorry. Okay, so ladies, have a conversation with a father or fatherly figure. It could be a brother too, somebody that you feel like is a solid classic man who understand how this stuff works. They can help you understand it better in terms of how men interpret it, and not in slavery. Like, and gentlemen, if a woman is having conversation about submission and she's bringing slavery into it, you deserve all the disrespect you get from engaging that type of woman. Okay, you deserve it. Number 9, we need to bring attraction and seduction back into that conversation. Okay, people submit when there's value in it. Okay, they don't argue with it. Okay. Number 10, religion is going to continue to play less and less role in understanding relationships. We need to step the conversation up. So a lot of time people use religion to try to press submission in, and it just gets worse, because then people start to say, but that same Bible, there's people that say submit to you. Some girl actually said that. People say submit to your white. I'm like, Jesus, it's so extreme. Like, now you as a gentleman, why would you engage such a lady in that kind of conversation? What are you trying to get out of that? To win a point, a candy? It's stupid, right? Number 11, there are studies that show that fertility dies with time for everyone. People are saying, oh, women need to submit because fertility. Bullshit. Everybody is getting old. Okay. Number 12, hypergamy is real, but in this time and age, it's more so desires than it is reality. Okay, but it's still very much kicking. But somebody brought in hypergamy. It's emotional only. Everything else, financial, tangible stuff you can touch, is useless. So an average woman is not going to end up with Hush Puppy or Pastor Toby or Puff Daddy, Alaji Chief Dangote. So it's, when you're talking about hypergamy at financial level, it's a useless conversation at best for most people. Okay, so that's that. How is that? So submission abolished? Nah. No, I think instead, if you are feeling like you're engaged in conversations too much about this, where it's making you feel drained and all that, change the circle. You can abolish that circle if it's making you feel that bad. But submission is not ultimately a bad thing, because we all have to do it, including men. All of us have to do it. I get it. They use it to try to manipulate women into becoming subordinates and all this. If you're ladies, maybe you stop engaging in conversation with this type of men. There are still some solid classic men out here, but it depends on what kind of conversations you're engaging as well. All right. I've got about, I don't know, maybe 2 more topics, short ones to cover, and I'll be right back.